y'all. It's Pete Cossaboon here with the Positive Vibes Show from Project Positive Change. Today we're talking about personal empowerment. This is the fourth segment right here, and this might be the last. We're not really quite sure. So we have four other visionaries with me. Got Vidya, Lesley, Susan, and Bobbi here. We're all going to be talking about our own personal journeys through becoming empowered for ourselves. And this segment is going to be really more about the nuts and bolts of it, about how do we personally empower ourselves? How do we become the leaders, in our own lives and possibly in our own communities and the world itself. I personally believe that the world is starving for leaders. And that's why my own personal take, that's why some of the leaders are in power right now. You take that however you want to. and one of us, these people are in
I'm Canadian. Doesn't affect me at all.
Right. So, but I truly believe this world is starving for leaders, and I think it is time for us to really empower ourselves and really step up and the leaders first in our own lives, and perhaps go out from there. So, who has got some helpful hints of how we actually begin to empower ourselves?
I can start if you want.
Okay.
One of the things that I found personally empowering, and one of the things that I really, enforce with my clients, is to stop using the question that starts with why. Why? And if you're in any situation, we tend to do that. Why did this happen to me? Why did he treat me this way? Why did someone leave me? Why did this happen? And all it does is put you in this spiral of excuse-based answers. So for my clients who are in toxic, abusive relationships, if they start to ask, why did he treat me or call me names tonight, they can come up with a whole bunch of excuses. He was tired. He had a long day at work. He or she. He had too much to drink. He did. So you make all these excuses to justify the why. When in fact, the questions you want to ask yourself are, what do I want in my life? How am I going to get it? When am I going to get it? And where is it going to happen? So you start to empower yourself through questions. Why is the most disempowering question we ask ourselves? And it can even go when we were talking about the accident, Lesley, your little fender bender. What's the first thing? Why did she hit me? Right? And if you approach it that way, she's going to come up with a whole bunch of excuses about why that happened, or whatever it was, and usually forcing you did it, you stopped too soon, that's why it happened. So it's accusatory and it's excuse-based. So shifting from the why to the other four empowering questions will help you move into your authentic self, and you will see all of the things that are waiting for you. And as I call it, it awakens your potential.
And Susan, I love how you really bring up that point, because it's interesting, when you ask the questions, you will get answers. And so I don't think it's about the answers that really are important. It's about the questions that we ask, right? Because
that's right.
We'll find the answers if we ask the question. We just got to ask the right ones. I love that.
That's right. And if you're stuck in the why loop, you will never ask the right question.
I love that, Susan. And I approach things, well, I don't have like a specific person that comes to me. They're in all different vibrations and places in life. But the thing that I always get to the heart of is what's in their heart. Like, what do they want to do? What sings in your soul? What do you want to do? And I help bring that out in people. And what I love to say is, when you're doing something, whether you're scrubbing the floors or creating some project or creating a business or whatever you're doing, if you are in the moment, if you're in the present, that's the nugget. Enjoy it. And if it turns into something else and it leads to something else, great. But how can you be right in the present moment? Now that's also, that doesn't, I guess, solve the issues that are in their life. And so you have to kind of cut through those blockages. And I love what you said, Susan, about how, what can you do? What can you do for yourself that is going to make the situation better? I mean, it's not just about finding what sings in your soul. It's about finding what are some solutions, instead of like just trying to fix things. How can you be responsible for yourself? Because really, that's the only thing you can control is yourself. You can't control anything else,
Yeah, I'd agree with Lesley wholeheartedly. You can't control anything. And I think loss also teaches you that too. Loss of anything, just loss. You can't control. It really makes that forefront in your mind. I think, and part of asking the whys, I think, is also asking yourself, or making yourself not judge as well. I think it's important to ask the whys. I think it's important to not stand in judgment of anything each and every day. Don't judge what occurs or doesn't occur. Own your own stuff and own what you're going to do about it. Ask the why questions, and don't judge. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge, anyone else. So I like to wake up in the morning, and like I said before, I'm a firm believer in affirmations. So I think part of the tools as well is affirming to yourself what you're going to do for you today to empower yourself. And part of that can be just the affirmations of no negative talk, no judging. Don't judge why you feel the way you feel, or how you're feeling, or how someone's treating you. And affirm to yourself just positive stuff throughout the day. I'm a big believer in that as well.
That's a really good point. Like we talk about how we want to know why about this person, but sometimes we judge ourselves. Like, why do I do this? Why? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And in the Sanskrit, there's a term called samskara, and it's really about mindful actions. It's about bringing in positive patterns into your life, right? Mm-hmm. So it's practice. You can't be enlightened without practicing things that bringing better things into your life. So samskaras are positive patterns and positive habits. So how do you release negative ones and bring in positive ones? And I love Bobbi, how you said you talked about yourself. So how do you start off the day putting yourself first? I mean, just changing things up in your life that, because I believe me, as much as I say this, I sometimes put myself last on the list. First it's like I get up, go through the motions, the kids, the work, and then later in the evening, But what if you started off your day with yourself and bringing something positive, and like Bobbi says, an affirmation, maybe it's just taking action on something for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually what I have on my list is pretty much what all of you have talked about. I definitely have the affirmations part on the list. So I like to say affirmation, especially empowering affirmations, with the I am statement. So it could just simply be, I am strong, I am love, or I am loved. One of my favorite ways is to, in any of those formats, I really like to do that as well. Affirmations are certainly one. Something, we talked about honoring your own needs, and Lesley, you spoke about this too. And I can certainly attest to the fact that the moment I shifted to making sure I had what I call an MMR, morning meditation and ritual routine, oh my God, my entire energy for the day shifted. And because I put myself first, and I was now grounded in myself, I could be, like you said, Pete, of much better service to my clients, but as well as the people I encountered. Something I mentioned in the first segment also was to shift from the victim mindset to the heroine or hero mindset. And I'm going to connect that back to the idea of core beliefs, which also connects back to affirmations. Really look at where are your limiting beliefs in your life, because beliefs leads to perceptions, lead to thoughts, lead to emotions and feelings. Those lead to actions, and those create the results in your life. So your life is a mirror. It reflects back your core beliefs about yourself and about the world and about everybody else, which brings us to being non-judgmental. And an important aspect of that is, to me, forgiveness. You got to forgive. To be really, truly empowered, you have to forgive not just the people who have maybe you feel like they've not treated you well in your life, or however they've hurt you, but yourself. It begins with forgiving yourself for everything you think you've done badly. No, shoulda, coulda, woulda done this. Fresh slate, fresh scratch. And I think the final one that two final ones that I especially espouse is, learn to advocate for your needs and wants. Learn to ask. Just be in a very non-judgmental way. Just ask for what you need. You want a little corner in the house for yourself? learn to ask for it and say, I need a corner for myself to do my morning meditations. I would love to take the space and create that space for yourself. And finally, gratitude. I think a huge part of empowering yourself is gratitude. And I like to really try work. Okay, this is my new word for the day. I like to have a gratitude orgasm first thing in the morning. And that means I try and work myself up to that state of extreme bliss in gratitude where it feels orgasmic. And when I've kind of, it is a work in practice. It's definitely practice that it doesn't happen. But just be grateful for everything, for the losses we've suffered, for the experiences we've had, toxic, non-toxic, the bill that you're wondering about that you're going to pay, the new car that you just got. If you can thank everything you have in your life, you'll just feel yourself powering up. And so those are my tips.
I want to add to that gratitude thing, just a personal story about that. When I was at my worst, I lived in a furnace room with my 2 girls. That was the only space that we could find to escape. And I remember sitting with one of my friends, and of course I was in that victim mode, telling my story and all of that. And she looked at me and she said, you know, perhaps you should think about some things you're grateful for. And I lost it. I was like, are you kidding? Like, my language just became really, really peppered with a lot of swearing. And I went right into my victim thing about I'm in a furnace room, I got 2 girls, I got no job, blah, blah, blah. And she sat there very patiently and waited for me to finish. And then she said, well, if I was you, I would start to be with being grateful that you're no longer with him. And I went, well, that makes a lot of sense. Now I really but that particular conversation. Now I went home and I tried to write down gratitudes, and it was really difficult to get started. But it really was the moment that changed me from living in that sort of dark space down the dark alley in the victimhood in my new neighborhood to moving forward. But gratitude, it is the best thing you can add to your life.
There's always something to be grateful for. And
exactly.
When you're in the depth of that valley, trust me, I know it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
And I also like to always, tell my customers, my widows, it could be worse. I think that's part of gratitude too, is also sitting there just being grateful that honestly, it could be worse. Yep. Your worse is worse. Your worse is bad, but it can always be worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's part of gratitude as well. Beautifully said. I love that you brought up gratitude, Vidya, because that's what shifts your energy first thing in the morning. I love the orgasm part. I'm going to have a morning affirmation orgasms.
Well, there you go. I love this new word called gratitude. See, I can't even say it. Gratitude. You can combine gratitude and enthusiasm, so it was gratitudeism, and I kept going, that doesn't sound right. And I just said, you know what? Gratitude orgasms. If everybody went around having gratitude orgasms, this world would be so much better to live in.
I like that.
I wanted to mention that in life, when we try to figure out what we want to be when we grow up, so to speak, we explore, and sometimes we get disappointed because we think, we're so excited about something. So there's this bipolar effect where you're like on this high, and then people don't react to things the way you want, or you think it's going to be a business and it doesn't turn out to be. So this attachment to the outcome. But in reality, life is about these present moments, and you are enjoying doing that, or you were doing a task and you're really mindful about doing it, and time stops sometimes, like wow, how did I get all this done? Or because you were really present. So living life from the present is if you could just even, I describe it like in the morning, you're rushing and you go in and doing about your day, and you got to hop in the shower and all this stuff. Could you take a few, like 5 extra minutes, like you said, gratitude or meditation, just eating. I use this as an example, like eating an apple, tasting it, feeling the apple, looking out the window, looking at nature, just looking around and just being quiet for just 5 minutes, and just practicing this, bringing this in to see how you can move to the next level with it. Because basically, you don't want to get to the point where you're like, take a dive off the cliff after you're so high that like you're back to square. You know what I mean? It's like life is going to be up and down. And if you can get to that place where you feel good one moment at a time, it's amazing how intoxicating it is, you know.
I know for me, it's been really important to like you've all kind of said, make yourself a priority, and it's been kind of counterintuitive. I've actually made myself get up a half an hour earlier so that I can do more at the gym in the morning, and I'm very careful about like my nutrition and my mindset. So it's those three things that really I surround myself with the right mindset, I take in the proper nutrition, and I get the right exercise. And I mean, I'm full of energy all day long, but it's because I'm waking up earlier, which most people, you know, and there's that little fight when the alarm clock goes off, my body says, oh, you really should get another half an hour of sleep. You really should just skip the gym today. You know what I mean? So there's always that little voice in the back of your head, but it's about making that commitment and making those schedules of things, like you say, your gratitude orgasm or whatever it is, because you could find, I'm sure, Vidya, you can find things that are saying, oh, I really don't have the time today. I really need to get to this, and I'll skip it today and do it tomorrow. But it's when you create those habitual patterns, you know, those habits of those kind of things, and you're really empowering yourself first, taking like, you know, like the old story, putting the oxygen mask on yourself first before you're trying to serve others. And then that's where you really have that strength to really like move out. So I want to ask y'all before we go today, how important do you think it is? Do you think it's more important to set standards for yourself or set goals for yourself?
Goals.
Goals. Okay.
Goals.
Everybody says goals. All righty.
No, I'm still thinking, because standard is very different from goals. I mean, that's kind of hard, because I think to me, standard is a bar. This is where I'm going. It's a code of conduct, if you will. It's where I'm going to operate at. Goals are things I want to achieve. I'm going to add another one into the mix. Intentions. I don't have a to-do list. I have an intentions and actions list. And goals to me are the North Star that guide me where I need to go. Some of them have a deadline. I mean, dang it, if I don't finish my PhD in the next 2 years, I'm never ever going to have a PhD. So there's a linear, three-dimensional deadline to that. So I can set the intention to finish it in 2 years, but I may end up finishing it a year in advance. Who knows? So I do have intentions, and then my goals are, it could be just like you said, to go to the gym 5 times a week. And then I don't judge myself, like Bobbi said, if I fall off that bandwagon, because my intention is not to go to the gym 5 times a week. My intention is to get lean and strong. My intention is to get strong and fit. However that happens, which also ties back to something you were saying. I do believe scaffolds are necessary. My explorer does not like structures. If you fill up my planner, I go stir crazy. So scaffolds are necessary. But I'm also learning, somebody used the word go with the flow, and it's the ebb and flow of life. Part of it is figuring out your own rhythm, your own cycle of ebb and flow, and knowing when to be in ebb and when it's okay to step back and say, just stepping back and saying, I'm in ebb, and when you're saying, I'm in flow now, like those juices are moving, let's get stuff done. And I'm learning I'm so much more productive because I'm working smart when I do that. I'm being present, like Lesley says, rather than working hard.
You know, when you talk about ebb and flow, it's interesting. It applies to a lot of different things, and you know, the ancient wisdoms, the Hindus and the Jains, they talk about life is wasted if you're all in your head and you have all these ideas. It's great, but if you don't take action on them, then it's a wasted life. Basically, you're not living your intentions or your goals or whatever you want to put it. So how do you, the ebbs and flow is kind of an interesting thing too. So you have thought about, you know, thoughts about things, and then you have actions and thoughts and actions and thoughts and actions. So how do you create that? So it's not like this. you can't be a straight line, you'll be dead. But how do you, you know, maintain this sort of balance, this nice wave in life by always moving with intention, mindful action, as I said before.
One of the greatest ways that I found to do that, and one of the things that I find with my clients, and something they're desperately striving for, is to have personal value, to feel they're a woman of value because they've lost all of that to the other. So one of the reasons why I said goals is A, to encourage the ebb and flow, but also more importantly, for them to keep a success journal. And even the tiniest little thing that they did that day, whether it was just stepping out the front door and walking down the block or whatever it was, that they can come home and write in it and celebrate that they did that. So that they're building, because confidence is the memory of success. That's all it is. So the more that you have success and the more that you celebrate that, even if it's the teeny tiny things, the more that empowerment grows and the more you're able to focus on the ebb and the flow and say, okay, I didn't get that done today, but look at, I got these other 4 things done today and I'm going to celebrate every one of those and pat myself on the back. So goals to me are the beginning of getting that ebb and flow feeling and really celebrating that you are a person of value and you are successful and you do have something to offer the world.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's a great
point. And to take those one steps at a time, especially like I tell my widows, you know, with loss, if your goal can be to have a shower that day post loss, but you may not get there, don't judge that. That's why I love Vidya saying it's my intention. So it's my intention to get a shower today. If I don't, that's okay too, you know?
Yeah.
So I love that. It's the ebb and the flow. I almost feel like the standards and the goals go together. I don't know if I can do one and without the other, Pete. So I can't really say, you know, which one's more important. I almost feel like standards is also our boundaries, correct? I mean, I feel like standards equals your boundaries and your goals. They kind of go together.
Yeah.
And,
you know, inspired me. You know, people talk about a gratitude journal, but I'm beginning to think it's really important to have a gratitude and win journal because that completes the energetic loop. This is
my goodness.
Wins for the day, and this is what I'm grateful for. And boom, you just.
You know what? I
a success journal to all my clients, and I nagged them about it. What's in your success journal today? What did you put in there? Oh yeah, I did this and this and this. So even though gratitude is important, to me, the success, those teeny tiny, like taking a shower, if you actually accomplish that, celebrate the hell out of it. Like that.
Yeah.
Actually, something.
How
I start my coaching sessions with my clients, we always started with a gratitude for the week and the win for the week. And that's the first, well, we do a grounding ritual. But after that, the first thing they are it's now practice. What's your what is your
and I think do what is authentic to you. I have to tell you this quick story. I went to therapy, obviously, first post loss, trying to figure things out. Went to therapist. Therapist wanted me to do a trauma journal. May I tell you all that did not resonate with me. Do not tell me to sit and talk about all of the negatives. I can't do a trauma journal. So what did I turn it into?
A gratitude journal?
A gratitude and a win journal. I took a freaking shower today. I took a shower. I stepped outside. You know, sometimes it's those little movements, right? Don't tell me to do a trauma journal. Let's do the wins.
But that's the same thing that counselors tell you when you've been in an abusive relationship. And not only that, they make you go to group counseling where you all compare your story. That's all you do. Right?
I couldn't stand group therapy. I could not. My soul was on fire when I was in there. I was like, this is not me. I cannot do this. Nope.
I went twice because first of all, you come away with a little bit of anger, but you also have this guilt and shame because if your story isn't as bad as her story, how dare you tell your story because hers is much worse. So you have these competing emotions, right? Like,
it advocates competition. Yep.
Yes.
I wanted to mention that, you know, we talk about these journals when it comes to we have some kind of blockage in our life, something that happens to us. But I've been practicing this lately just for myself, where I keep my list really short, and if I can add to it, great. You know, I have a bigger list, but like today, it's really short. But I've also tried to recognize and be grateful for all I got done today. Like I have such a busy mind that taking action on things, staying focused on things is very difficult for me. But aside from that list, which I love Susan's, explanation of that, I always tell people, write down who you are. And don't write down the horrible things. Just write down the good things. Like, you like your hair. You just stupid stuff like that. Or, you know, I'm a good listener. And write down these things that you do. You know, like I'm a painter. You know, and what's interesting is you start, it's hard at first. You start to like struggle for good things to say about yourself, or things that you know that you are, you know, have gifts in. But then I say, then put it away and then come back to it like if several months later and see if you can add to the list or cross things off the list. I'm no longer this person, but I am, now I'm this person. And you'll see in time as you keep doing this, how much you change, how much you learn, how much you grow, and how many more things. And as you grow and you feel these positive things about yourself, you realize that there's just an infinite amount of things that you can do and are, you know. I just think it's a great practice. It helped me kind of stay away from the negative things like, oh, I have a bad hair day, or, you know, or I talk too much, or, you know what I mean? You write the things that are more the positive side of that. Like, I can articulate myself. And I say, not today, but I can articulate, you know what I mean? Instead of I'm a talkative. You know, I'm just saying, like, trying to write these positive things is very difficult. But if you get in the practice of that, you start to see yourself as a person that has a lot of positive attributes. And you see yourself as a person who's constantly changing in a constantly changing world.
I love it. Well, I think that's about the end right here for this show on personal empowerment from the Positive Vibes Show from Project Positive Change. This has been so amazing. There's 4 segments to this. I hope that everybody will watch this. And whoever you felt really in tune with, whether it's been Vidya, Lesley, Susan, or Bobbi, if you would go ahead and contact them, see what kind of work you can do with these people. That's what the Positive Vibes Show is about, is really showing the amazing talent and skills that's in Project Positive Change. So we'll see y'all later.